What's going on YouTube? Warstorm here, coming at you guys in another video. Today I'm bringing you guys my Shaddoll Dino deck profile. This is what I've been playing over the past few months, when I can go to locals, obviously, you know, especially now that the pandemic is dying down a little bit. I've been to locals a few times, but not as, much as I used to. But whenever I do go, this is what I've been playing. I'm really happy with it. One thing I will say is the Link Cross ban a few months ago kind of hurt because the tokens Link Cross creates are light attributes. So a cool thing you could do was use Proxy F Magician here to fuse a Shaddoll and the light token to make construct. So you could do that without even using a fusion spell, which was freaking nuts. But now that Link Cross is gone, you still have Archosaur. During the combo, you will still summon an Archosaur that will be a perfect attribute for construct. But the absurdity of Link Cross really opened up the deck to some insane boards you could pump out. Boards of like an Apollosa, with a window on the opponent's turn with alongside, other, you could do Adulka. This was all just in, just like a couple card combos, you could pop this off. And it's still really strong on going first. It can still pump out really good boards, but the strength of dinos and Shaddolls has always been being able to play into boards going second. So putting them together, it is a great thing, and it really does. And the deck is, I still think the deck is pretty strong. It's not as strong as it was with Link Cross, but definitely it's still pretty strong. So we'll go ahead and get to the deck profile. So we're not going to spend too much time on these boys. I think we all know what Oviraptor and Miscellaneousaurus do. These cards are just absurd. They're ridiculous. I think we all know what they do. 3 of in every dino, more no less. 1 Giant Rex. I still think Giant Rex is a good combo piece for any dino deck. But in this particular build, it's one of the few ways you're going to access your Dolka now that Link Cross has been banned for a while now. So you're going to be usually banishing this with the pill and then summoning it back and then overlaying it with Oviraptor to make your Dolka. So pretty nice. Then for the babies, the 3 baby Ceratosaurus and only the 1 petite Pteranodon. The main reason there's only 1 of the petite Pteranodon is it can't summon low-level dinos from the deck, and the main combo you use with the deck is going to rotate through multiple baby Ceratosaurus. So you ideally want to pop off a baby Ceratosaurus Archosaur and then summon another one, and petite Pteranodon can't do that. But it can grab higher level dinos from the deck. So if you are playing Pankratops, it's a great thing to summon off of this, but that's why it's at 1. It's mostly because it's nice to have, but it's not something you really want as much as to see as much as baby Ceratosaurus. Then for some of the last couple, the low level dinos, we of course have the 1 Amadorn Archosaur and the 1 Aleo. Aleo is usually used to climb into Needle Fiber with one of the base combos, so it's still a necessary piece in this particular build. But you're going to be summoning it off of baby Ceratosaurus. You're not going to be summoning it off of Miscellaneousaurus because you're going to be grabbing Archosaur. I have seen some builds with multiple Archosaurs, and I can see why you would play more than 1 because it's kind of a dead card if you do draw it. But personally, I just don't have the willingness to go and shell out $40 or whatever it is right now on another Archosaur when a reprint's right around the corner and we have no official tournaments. So that's why it's only at 1. I would consider playing 2 simply because, though, it is a light target for construct going second. Then for remaining, of course, our big boys, we have the 2 Tyrannos and the 1 Overtex. Tyranno is still not a bad card to hard draw in a lot of scenarios, and there's still some really nice boards you can pump out when you have access to it alongside Overtex. But a lot of your end boards are going to have an Apollosa or some kind of monster negate. So ideally you want to summon Overtex because not only does it replace itself with another pill when you pop it with its effect, but also it clever spells and traps, which is another thing, which is something that the Dino board tends to be weak to. Things like impermanence, things like evenly matched, if you don't can somewhat clear your field. So that's why you want to typically want to end on an Overtex. But Tyranno is still an absurd card, especially going second. Then for the Shaddoll package, we have the 1 Falco. This is the whole reason this deck even works. The fact that this thing is a tuner. You can grab it with Needle Fiber. It's the whole reason this deck even works. Honestly, if Needle Fiber didn't exist, but the fact that you can grab one of your Shaddolls for deck with Needle Fiber for free is just insane, and it makes the whole deck actually function, because you can get to your Shaddoll package without even, you know, seeing any of your other Shaddoll cards, which means you can play a pretty low count of other Shadolls. So there's only 2 Squamata, 2 Windy, 1 Hedgehog, 1 Dragon, 1 Beast. So as you can see, the Shaddoll engine is very small, and the fact that you can access it via needle fiber means you can play a smaller Shaddoll count than you would normally would. The main reason why it's so small is because I want to keep the consistency. It's at 43 cards as it is, and I don't want to bump the card count up too much and hurt the consistency. So that's why the Shaddoll package is so small in this particular build. You could consider maybe bumping Squamata up, maybe bumping up one of these two. It's really up to you personally, but I like to keep it kind of condensed because I don't want to draw too many of them. I want to have as many combo pieces as possible. Then, of course, for the remaining monsters, we have the Gamma, and alongside the 1-up Driver. I personally really like Gamma because it gets the monster off the board. Because there's a lot of, with the way a lot of the decks are nowadays, if you Veiler something like a Needle Fiber or an LP, there's a good chance they're going to have an extender and simply play through it by climbing into something else with that monster. If you get the monster off the field, they have to have some kind of other extender, you know, not using that monster. So the other thing is Gamma is also, all these monsters are light attributes. So going second, you can actually dump Driver with Shaddoll Fusion so you don't draw it. Alternatively, you could play Effect Veilers in this slot, but there's not a lot of light monsters in this deck outside of this and this, so you want to think about that, because you obviously don't want to be dumping, you know, your Tyranno or your Amador and Archosaur with Shaddoll Fusion. You want to be dumping one of these, so that's the reason why another reason why they're in here. Then for the spells, the 1 Foolish Burial, kind of self-explanatory. Like, you have so many cards, like it gives you access to anything you need. You need one of your Shaddoll things in the grave, dump it. Do you need one of your dinos in the grave? Dump it. It's really, really good. Obviously, 3 Fossil Dig, Searcher for your best cards. Too much to say. 2 Double Evolution Pill. This isn't like a pure Dino build. If you're playing pure, you could probably play 3, but because it's good, not the worst thing to hard draw in some scenarios. But personally, 2 is perfectly fine. Typically, you will search one with your Archosaur, and you will get the other one with Overtext. So you don't ever really need... So you'll always have access to these things when you need them. Then for the Shaddoll spells, I have the 2 L alongside the 3 Shaddoll. Shaddoll Fusion is obviously the better card in this particular build, because it helps you to go second and play into fields. L, however, is still a fantastic piece. If you don't have access to your... it gives you another way to fusion summon on your opponent's turn. If they happen to, let's say, impermanence your Winda, you can flip L and summon another one. So it's still a really strong card, but obviously in this kind of a build, yeah, Shaddoll Fusion is the better card. Then for the traps, of course, you got to have the 1-up Schism alongside the 3 impermanents. Schism is obviously one of the reasons why decks like this work, is the fact that, yeah, I'm not playing Dogmatica, but the basic combo summons a construct for free and then links it off. So you're going to have Schism set up, as long as, you know, the normal combo plays off, where you just pop off a baby Ceratosaurus with Archosaur. The whole combo goes off, and you'll have your Schism set up. So ridiculously strong card, honestly, and the fact that, you know, you could set it up, you know, without even seeing any of your Shaddoll stuff is just nuts. I really like Infinite Impermanence in this particular deck, because you don't have a lot of other back row besides Schism anyway, so it's not the off-worst thing to set in the world. But the other thing is it covers situations that Veiler sometimes won't, like playing into fields. Like sometimes, for example, you could play Dark Ruler no more into the slot instead if you feel like it, just for going second, but a lot of times dinos only really can have an easier time playing through Disruption in other decks. So all you really need sometimes is just to get rid of 1 negate, and then bam, you're good to go. So, and it's the fact that it's a good top deck to draw when you're playing into a field, but it's also like a Disruption card going. It's a little bit more flexible in my opinion than Effect Veiler. Now we're moving on to the extra deck. We have for the fusions, we have 2 copies of Construct, 2 Windas, and 1 Apkalon. I don't make Apkalon that much, but there are some combos where you do want to go into it, and it is nice to have another fusion to summon with to summon to the field to negate things. So personally, I find that this has been a really good ratio. It's plenty. I don't. You could definitely play some more fusions if you want. There's the extra deck space is there. If you want to play something like maybe a Grista, maybe a Shekanaga, it's really up to you. But personally, I've just had a good time with this and nothing else. Then, of course, again, like I said earlier, this whole deck wouldn't work with these two cards, which is Crystalline Needle Fiber and Proxy F Magician. If you're unfamiliar with this card, basically just lets you fusion summon monsters using monsters you control. So typically, what you would do is summon Falco, and then you would also have Archosaur on the board, summoned with Miscellaneousaurus. So you can then link into this, and then just fusion off that Falco and that Archosaur for your construct. So these two cards are honestly just what makes the deck actually function. And I'm not, honestly, like, without this card, I don't think it would work. But yeah, those two cards are pretty strong. Then for some of the kind of flex spots in the extra deck, we have the Lambda and the Verte Anaconda. I did try integrating Dragoon in the deck, but the deck already has a lot of brick cards. Like, I did the math with the Red Eyes fusion and stuff in there. It's anywhere from 10 or more bricks. So personally, though, I still think Verte has a home because you can send Shaddoll fusion from your deck if your plays do get stopped. And you don't have access to Schism, obviously, but you can still fusion summon. It's nice to have the option there. Lambda, it's there if your Gammas get stuck in your hand and you don't have much else to summon. It's there as an option. It's not ideal, but, it's definitely... if I did have Access Code Talker, I would probably replace Lambda with Selene because Falco is a spellcaster, so as long as you have access to Needle Fiber, you can make access code and OTK your opponent. Then the one of Cross Sheep, I don't make it too much, but it is a fusion deck, and it's a great extender, so it's in here. Of course, the IP Masquerade Unicorn combo, again, it's another play if you do get Nibiru'd, but you're under Miscellaneousaurus, for example, you can make Masquerade at least have a play to make. So, yeah. Then for the Link 4s, I have the one Epilosa and the one Borrelsword Dragon. Borrelsword is here. It's honestly, this deck does not have a hard time making Borrelsword at all. It has easy time pumping out 3 to 4 monsters, so Access Code is definitely the better card. Don't mistake it. But this isn't one of those decks like Sky Strikers where they have a really hard time summoning Borrelsword, but Access Code is a lot easier for them to summon. Epilos is kind of obvious. It's like a great Omni Negate, and it's really easy for this deck to summon. The last monster is one Evil Sword Dolka. You could also put a Lagia in here if you feel like it, or replace the Lambda spot. But personally, obviously Dolka is still an extremely strong card.